Oh, yeah, right.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, and then on 1.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
We did it!
We did? And we did not. On my end, it was by...
It was on my end, it was perfect.
Okay, good.
For once, it was... For once, we synced up clapping. Because it's always 1, 2, 3, you clap, and then, like, me, like, a stupid infant just claps her seal hands together a minute after you. Yeah. Like,
and then off screen, you just see, like, a tuna flop in.
That was the reaction to many people had to Age of Ultron. They just stood up in their seats and clapped their seal fins together.
That's my mental image every time I see someone talking about like how great the MCU is and it's how it's like modern myth or whatever. That's all I hear.
On that Jordan Peterson shit.
Yeah.
It's like okay. Hi everybody, we're back. We're back with the Avengers Age of Ultron.
Welcome to Marvelous, or the Death of Cinema. On this week's episode, we discuss the second entry in the Avengers series, which is the 10th entry in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We've got a lot of complex themes. We've got a lot of psychology and humanity.
Infertility.
Infertility. Our heroes once thought these invulnerable icons of human achievement are now facing down their vulnerabilities and their traumas. And it's all, I'm fucking with you. Fuck this movie. This movie sucks. This is the dog's ass.
Well, I hated it. I don't hate it. Like I got enough like enjoyment out of it the way I enjoy something like John Travolta in The Fanatic, where I'm watching it and I'm like, this is so stupid. Like, why is this happening? What was the driving creative decision behind this? Why didn't they do this? What is going on? Where I'm getting more entertainment just out of like how baffling, weird, and incompetent, at least this from a storytelling aspect, and also just
it's
visually,
a mess.
like it's a mess. It's a mess.
It's the movie. It's really it's Avengers 2, and I'm just going to start referring to them by numbers from here on out.
Yeah,
because I feel like they stopped putting with Iron Man after the Iron Man movies. They stopped putting numbers on them because they didn't want people to realize that they're not watching Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. They're watching Marvel movie number 47. So I think this is what the first Avengers should have been. It not in a
this is what the first
way, but this is what the first one would have been if it wasn't like a lightning in the bottle kind of moment.
Yes, I 100% agree.
It implodes under the weight of having to do 500 different things. Like Joss Whedon managed to juggle the balls once, then they asked him to do it again with more balls, and he couldn't. A man who famously loves juggling balls.
He was too busy putting his balls in some poor actress's face. It's okay, I'm a lady. I can make these kind of jokes. No, I can't. But anyways, Joss Whedon really buckled under the weight of this movie. Like he like in the sense that like it's very clear compared to the first Avengers that this movie was more like Winter Soldier, very much like Kevin Feige came to Joss Whedon with a list of things he needed to do with this movie, where that seems to take precedence over like being a standalone
making a
movie.
Yeah,
but then there's also like how much Joss Whedon is really projecting himself into this movie. Like this movie is it's I don't want to say it's not the worst Marvel movie. It's not the most hated Marvel movie, but I would say it's probably one of the more divisive ones, like up until probably like Eternals, like in terms of like a ensemble, not like singularly focused. because this is the movie where everyone's clowned on it a million times, but the big glaring error in this movie that people have is the really forced and contrived romance that Joss Whedon writes between Black Widow and Hulk, where it's as you pointed out, he's clearly projecting himself onto Hulk.
Here's the thing. That was something I kind of read into the first movie, and a little bit, and now I feel a lot more confident on it with this one, and this relies on everything we learned after his big, I don't know if it's a Me Tooing per se, but his big
cancellation.
His cancellation. Thank you. It's like, oh, well, I'm just this nice, dorky, super smart nerd guy, and women find that endearing, and oh, but don't make me mad. I've got this anger and these bad things inside of me that come out, and I need help controlling, and that's kind of what I think so. And it also makes sense if that's his kind of projection character, if that's why he'd ship them with Black Widow, who's like the closest thing we have to a Buffy in this.
In that, like, that's where it makes sense and falls into place. But like the big problem with this movie, and I think it's very endemic into that romantic subplot, is just botched execution.
Botched execution, and then also like, again, like that big list of things this movie needs to do is it's too big.
Yeah,
and it's too self-contradictory. It's too much setting up other movies. It's too much things that don't work together. Like
especially,
a movie, ideally a movie should be like a cohesive unit. The pieces should all fit. I don't just mean in like a mechanical plot sense, but like thematically, like things should tie together and mirror each other. Like each piece should kind of reflect the other. It should be like a little jewel, right? And this can't do that because it can't stand alone at all from everything else.
And in doing so, it also has to, like, inevitably, whether, you know, someone was going through this with a fine-tooth comb or not, like, for story purposes, it has to retcon or at least like undo previous characterization, like, and that's the big, like, Iron Man 3 might as well have never happened.
No, we're right back where we started with that, with it. And here's the thing, like, people will say like that's pedantic or whatever, but like, I'm gonna say this: other movies, I might say sure, but the whole cinematic universe thing as a concept hinges on the idea that all of these movies and TV shows and time material all fit together to create expansive world building and expansive long arc characterization. So when they fail to fit together, which they inevitably have to, because this whole apparatus is too big and unwieldy to be consistent in a thematic or character sense, then it undermines and highlights the entire problem with the thing as a concept. Like, this isn't an expansive universe with long character arcs. This isn't like a novel or even like a TV series or like a manga or comic series with like a coherent authorship with coherent ideas from beginning to end. The whole cinematic universe is an illusion.
Yeah, it's cobbled together.
Movie to movie, the characters become completely different people with completely different motivations based entirely on what that movie needs.
And who's directing, or by that, who was chosen to direct, really, because these, at the end of the day, these movies, or at least the plot lines and like where they're going to, those are established by Kevin Feige and his friends in a room being like, we need this to go together because we need to sell toys and make this amount of money, and we can, use this character.
They have all the pieces for the marketing. They have all the pieces figured out that they need for like industrial reasons, and then the writer and the director are just stitching those pieces together. It's like how video games used to be written. Not like RPGs necessarily or things that are like more plot heavy, but something like the old Tomb Raider games. The way those are made is the development staff would sit down and they'd be like, we've got a bunch of really cool ideas for levels and set pieces. And then like maybe a kind of plot to go with it. And then they would just hired a writer to like write little cut scenes that were like, 30 seconds, a minute long. They would just stitch the levels together, which was just fine for a PlayStation game in 1996.
Yeah. But you're not expecting a
$200 million movie.
Death Stranding fucking level fucking storytelling. But can I read my summary?
Yes. Oh, we should probably. Yeah, we should.
Yeah. All right, give me that 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3.
Who stole the Great Hope Diamond? What killed the dinosaurs? Who makes the finest pizza? What's in your brother's dresser drawers?
Avengers: Age of Ultron is the longest movie ever made for people to watch while standing in line for a roller coaster. It's also feminist filmmaker Joss Whedon's final outing at Marvel Studios before Kevin Feige handed the Avengers over to the Property Brothers once and for all. Did you just sneeze?
No, I'm laughing. I'm laughing, but trying not to choke on my water.
Where did it all go wrong? Was it the excessively grating Whedon speak? The contrived Disney romance subplot between the Hulk and Black Widow? Tony Stark voicing his support for Prima Nocta? Did Chris Evans not tear enough logs in half? The truth is, Joss Whedon not only projected too much of himself into Age of Ultron, but he failed to make the robot hot, scary, or hot and scary. Also, the movie isn't very good. In Age of Ultron, Earth's mightiest heroes team up once again to finish a storyline you needed to watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to understand. While attacking a secret Hydra base in search of Loki's scepter, the Avengers encounter mutant twins, Mind Stone-enhanced super twins on loan from Fox, played by Aaron Taylor Johnson in a one-movie contract deal, and confirmed Red Scare listener Elizabeth Olsen of the Olsen & Olsen Mystery Agency. He's a Slavic Sonic the Hedgehog in an Adidas tracksuit, and she's a goth Russian GF with BPD witch powers. But Joss Whedon's contractually prohibited from calling them Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, or referring to them as X-Men, so he turns them into willing Dr. Mengele experiments instead. Robert Downey Jr. returns and undoes all of Tony Stark's character growth in Iron Man 3 by using an Infinity Stone to build a global peacekeeping AI that's basically Skynet. When it immediately blackpills itself speedrunning human history, the program goes rogue as the titular evil robot Ultron, performed by sex god James Spader in CG motion capture that makes him look like a sneaker. Using Elizabeth Olsen's girl boss gatekeep gaslight abilities, Ultron plays off of the Avengers' fears and anxieties to turn them against each other just long enough for there to be the bare minimum amount of tension allowed by the Marvel algorithm. Then they all spend some time at an Airbnb where Hawkeye keeps his secret wife Velma Dinkley until Ultron makes the capital of the former Soviet state fly. Other things happen in the movie too, including a forced sterilization backstory, bad Russian accents, superpowered Paul Bettany with Ken doll anatomy, Andy Serkis with an African tribal brand, and Mark Ruffalo motorboating Scarlett Johansson's boobs. Hey, at least we have Paul Rudd and Ant-Man to look forward to watching next. So this movie's I got more enjoyment out of it than Winter Soldier. But that's because Winter Soldier I was more like sad and upset that I remembered it being good and that it's not actually good, whereas like this I knew already, like being divisive. Like I had my expectations pretty lowered.
See,
so that probably made it an easier, more like enjoy. But like, yeah, for the last like half hour, both because I was the reefer. I was just like I was like staying at my mom's house, so I was watching it on her TV, and I was just like on the couch, just fucking hot as can be, like no bra, like a fucking absolute dirtbag, just like might as well have had like an IV hooked up to me, because I was just like It's
yeah, no, that was. I live in a basement with a half-finished basement with a concrete floor.
Oh, that means you get to be like super cool in
Yeah, no, when it gets hot like this, it's really nice.
Yeah.
Like when we got that.
As someone who had a basement bedroom as a teenager.
Yeah, I was even though where I live is really far north, we got caught in that West Coast heat dome last year when it went above 40 degrees Celsius. Our American users can type into Google and translate that into your fake nonsense units of measurement, but it's really hot, like really hot. Like here, like a normal, like
something, 100 something.
It might be 100, yeah, over 100. But it's like 30 degree, like room temperature is like 21 degrees Celsius. 100 is where water boils.
Yeah,
30 is like a hot day here, like hot, but like the kind of hot you kind of expect at the peak of summer. And like, so 40 is like insane. And I was so glad to live in a basement when that happened. But, I guess, fuck this.
I mean, here's
this movie is, so here's the thing. This movie is on paper, even with all its problems, like more just like entertaining than like Hulk. Or
I
Soldier or whatever.
Watch this like back to back over watching Thor.
But I found it way more irritating and hard to focus on. And I think it's just because there's just too much fucking happening, both visually during the action sequences and plot-wise, which would be fine if I cared about any of it, but I don't. So it just becomes like vaguely headache-inducing.
Well, I think, you know what? Can we, since we're at the beginning,
whereas, like,
I think that's
Hulk is mediocre in a way that's easy to follow.
Because I think the opening scene really established, like, I feel like it's, like, that's, like, a microcosm of the movie's problems as a whole, is that opening scene. Like, I was laughing my ass off. Like, it feels like a parody of, like, the first Avengers movie. It's, you know, reusing that same, like, 360 shot, you know, it's basically reusing the set piece from first Avenger of the Hydra infiltration.
Yeah, the hero shot where they all jump into frame and they're all in their poses, and it's like, oh, it's a shot that's supposed to look like a comic book panel, but it's like, see, comic book panels look cool because they're in a comic book. When you do it with like actors on a green screen plus like CGI that's meant to look photorealistic, it just looks stupid.
It looks stale. It's uninteresting.
It's like so cliche, and it's so like you're like it's doing that whole, because you know it's like that shot is for the trailer. It's for like you can feel the movie being like, isn't this epic? Isn't this so epic? Aren't you so excited for all your epic guys? And it's like, Don't tell me how to feel about the epic guys. I'll decide if they're epic. You just do your job as a movie. And I hate that. I've talked about this. I hate obsequiousness and it's so pervasive now in film and in TV. That sense that it's trying so hard to impress you. It just wants you to love it so goddamn much, and it makes me really angry. I don't know why it makes me so angry. It just is insanely frustrating to me.
Well, I think, and another thing is, so we've already mentioned that by this point, the MCU had a couple of television series that were airing, Agent Carter and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So when Joss Whedon signed on to do the first Avengers movie, Kevin Feige also wanted him to work on developing Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I understand I never actually watched.
He delegated that to one of his brothers who are also writers.
He I want to say he directed like the pilot episode of it and did some writing. But so the thing with this movie is this movie starts like immediately with the Avengers like finishing up the storyline that was just established in Winter Soldier about how Hydra has basically, you know, long been permeating throughout S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, S.H.I.E.L.D. is no more. Not that might as well not have
until
happened,
the end of
but
this
like
movie when they're back and they're good again and everything's fine.
Well, the difference is this time they're not presumably funded by the world government. Now they're just exclusively funded by a tech billionaire who created a crazy AI that lifts an entire fucking Eastern European city.
Yeah,
like a million feet in the air.
Elon Musk has a private army. That's
like
great.
that's. But anyways, so the Avengers just are and they're finishing up a storyline that was established and developed in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which was they're trying to locate where Loki's scepter is. Like, where the fuck did that go after New York? What's not clear, and again, I think this is also very indicative of how the MCU is not as well planned out as people make it out to be. And that's very evident by just the use of like the weird plot use of the Infinity Stones. For example,
because they need to set them up, but that's like they just have, it's like on the checklist. It's like have an Infinity Stone. That's it.
So here's the thing: in the first Avengers movie, there is a scene where like Thanos gives Loki a scepter. It is never established that inside that scepter, like that blue glowy thing, that's actually the yellow Infinity Stone in there. Not to be confused with the Tesseract, which is another Infinity Stone that Loki also had at the time.
Which should not be confused with the blue cube from the first Thor movie, which is neither of those things. But it's also just blue glowy bullshit.
So, yes.
These movies.
It's so... And another thing, too, and this is the third thing, like, this is probably the biggest thing about the movie, because at the time that this was in production, Disney had not yet completely carnivored Fox, 20th Century Fox. At that time, Marvel Studios came to an agreement with 20th Century Fox, who had at the time the rights to the X-Men. Okay. Well, I was just talking about 20th Century Fox had the right to X-Men. Yeah. So it's a similar sort of situation that would eventually play out with Marvel Studios and Spider-Man with Sony. So at the time, they're like, okay, you can borrow Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, but you can't use either of their names, and you can't refer to them as mutants or allude to them being X-Men. So and I was never really into X-Men. Like, I never got into it. But to my understanding, like, both of them are the kids of Magneto. So Joss Whedon,
depending on which
or at least
canon you go with,
most popular canon, I would say is. So I don't know if Days of Future Past was. I think was it released within the same year as this movie?
Days of Future Past was 2014, so it would have come out when this was in production or like late into pre-production.
Yeah, so there was already.
And they also have Quicksilver in that one.
And guess what? Guess what I found out literally today?
What?
Aaron Taylor Johnson. This is the only time he ever plays Quicksilver, but Quicksilver appears in WandaVision. You want to know who plays him? Evan fucking Peters.
From
yeah.
Who
they're totally
admittedly like his was the better,
they're setting up the Marvel Cinematic Multiverse. It's like
well, they've been doing that with a couple of those things. Like I guess I've heard, I haven't seen it. Multiverse of Madness has Patrick Stewart as
I heard that too
as Professor X, but
Office Jim as Mr. Fantastic.
He's in the hovering yellow chair from the early 90s cartoon.
Okay.
Which I think like all the 90s cartoon character designs are from like the late 80s comics, I think. And they're good designs. Like
they're eye-catching.
I really liked that cartoon when I was a kid. So that's my X-Men.
It's almost like these properties work better in animation.
Why? That's the thing with, and I know I've said this before, but with so much fucking CGI in all these movies,
like they might as well just be animation.
Why not just make them totally animated? Other than the studios still think that a lot of people won't go see cartoons because cartoons are for kids or what the fuck ever. But they are cartoons. They're already cartoons.
You know what? I will say I would be significantly less interested watching any of these movies if I didn't get to look at Chris Evans' beautiful face.
I mean, yeah, I guess for you.
Although I also will say, as much as I simp for Chris Evans, guys that I'm actually like involved, I hook up with guys who look more like fucking Quicksilver. Just fucking like, bleach blonde, dark roots, Adidas tracksuit. I see that and I'm like, oh my God.
Fresh off the boat from Romania.
But here's the thing. Joss Whedon also has to completely rewrite a backstory for these two characters who are most known like for specific for their relation to the X-Men. So the solution to that is Quicksilver and Scarlet Witches, who are not called that at all in the movie. The only time they allude to that is, I think, Tony calls Wanda a witch at one point. But
yeah,
the only way was for them to be turned into two like Slavic former Soviet bloc victims of war who are really hold a grudge against Tony Stark because one of Stark Industries' bombs leveled their house and killed their parents.
And I'm pretty sure like arms companies definitely like brand their artillery shells individually.
Which like
those things that are meant to explode on impact. I'm sure they do that.
I think, and this is another thing I heard. I guess they mentioned this in fucking WandaVision, which I guess we're gonna have to watch at some point.
I think we might, because that one's both so it's used so much in the movies, but also because I think it's so popular. I think it's reflective of something in a way like a lot of those others. Like everybody's already forgotten about Luke Cage or whatever.
Well, someone intuits that like some character in WandaVision intuits that like Wanda had latent powers already, that they weren't just like her and her brother's powers weren't just activated by use of the Mind Stone, that they kind of insinuating they've been mutants all along, like, retconning
because they are going to fold the X-Men in.
I mean, that's obviously what's going to happen eventually. And this is like one of those things where it's like
with the X-Men, where it's like they want to have like Patrick Stewart and stuff, but then it's also. But it's interesting where it's like they want a new X-Men for the MCU, but they also know people love at least the cast of the Bryan Singer X-Men, and then also the 90s cartoon, and they're going to try and be, again, because everything has to be everything. It's like it can't not be a mess.
It has
right? Where it's like, if you're going to do the X-Men again, give me a new X-Men. Like, I love Patrick Stewart, but he's like a million years old.
He's like 170 at this point.
Yeah, give me a new Professor X. Give me a new.
There are more bald
if you're going to do it at all, give me a new version of. It's not like those Bryan Singer movies are like the greatest thing ever done.
I mean, well,
but
we're not.
We can't. I mean, we can't let go. We cannot let. It's not even that we can't let go of the X-Men. We can't let go of the X-Men from the year 2000.
Who's the other Professor X?
There are no other Professor. Oh, the young Professor X was James McAvoy.
James McAvoy.
McAvoy.
McAvoy. What do you mean?
Well, there's no A. It's spelled without an A.
It's McAvoy.
So, yeah, but it's spelled without an A. I think.
One of us is wrong. One of us is wrong.
Either way. I'm wrong either. It is McAvoy, I'm pretty sure. And then wasn't it Mr. Big Dong was young
Michael
Magneto.
Fassbender?
Yeah. Mr. Big Dong. You knew right away who I meant.
That's literally, I watched The Lighthouse with my roommate like earlier. It was like, oh, you heard about the thing about Willem Dafoe's dick in Antichrist? I was like, yeah, it's broken. He's like, no. Lars Van Trier, like, that's actually a body double. That's not actually Willem Dafoe's dick, because Willem Dafoe's dick is so big that if he had gone like fully full frontal in that movie, audience members would have believed he was wearing a prosthetic dong, because Willem Dafoe's dick is just that big.
Yeah, they CGI'd Willem Dafoe's dick onto Mark Wahlberg for Boogie Nights.
God. Can we?
One of the very few movies that manages to actually use Mark Wahlberg in an effective way.
Yeah. Can we also talk about just because this is what there's so much in this opening scene. I spent like half an hour taking notes on like the first like 15 minutes alone. 'Cause, like, I lost my shit at the we're gonna have, actually no, I'm just gonna say it. Hey, big guy, sun's getting real low.
Oh yeah, I like that pairing in theory.
Conceptually, it works. It works.
Yeah, and here it is, like the one scene where like she and Bruce are at the bar and they're just talking to each other like grown adults. They have like some actual chemistry, which is absent from so many of the romantic pairings in these movies.
That should have been in another movie, though. Like, that should have been in its own separate movie.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, it's badly executed with the lullaby and just so much
the motorboating too.
Badly thought out shit. Yeah,
it's just the weird like content, like, because that's the only boob joke. Like, I don't know. Like, has that joke? I feel like that joke was like retired. I feel like I once like
missed this motorboating thing.
Fourth way. It's the part where he's like falls into Scarlett Johansson's boobs at the party.
Oh, okay, part. Yeah, right.
That was so controversial on Tumblr, at least. Like, on like the Tumblr side of the internet. People were like, "What the fuck is this?"
Those are the same people that freaked out about the fucking prima nocta joke too. Like, God,
that's funny though. I think that is like, I mean, that's funny, but it's also totally on brand for Tony Stark.
It is. He's that guy, and it's just a joke. Of all the like, I don't understand.
It's the most truthful it's the most truthful moment he has. Just like outwardly saying he supports feudal rape.
Like that, I mean, he's obviously just being sarcastic.
I mean, yeah, but like,
and it's also like, it's like it wasn't even real. Prima nocta was never real.
Yeah,
it was never an actual thing. I think they made that up for the movie Braveheart.
You can't see right now, but I'm pointing to my Belladonna of Sadness poster above my head. Go on.
I still got to watch that. That's one of those movies I've been.
Oh my God.
It's been on my list forever, but I feel like I've got to be in like a certain mood for it.
I mean, you did watch Mad God the other night.
I did finally.
So
I know you said you showed me where I could find a. But it was like 1 gigabyte, and I was like, I'm gonna wait for a higher bitrate file to watch this. And so I waited until it came out on streaming, and got one that was.
Yeah, again, you know, this movie's bad when we start talking about other things.
We've got a lot of complaints and observations about this movie, but it's also just like, I mean, it's just imploding under the weight of having to do like this movie. This should be like 3 different movies.
Yeah,
but they're in a rush to get to their big
its own movie. Like that should be its own. I mean,
that could have been your side Hulk movie, right? Like, if you're getting a standalone Hulk movie,
well, here's another thing. Here's another thing, because like I also remember by this point, like, I was relatively invested in, you know, the MCU fandom, you know, when this movie came out. And I remember specifically just conversations on the internet. It was already happening. People were like, "Oh, okay, when are we going to get like a female superhero-led movie?" Which, you know, we kind of roll our eyes at now. But like thinking about like on this watch and like with the hindsight of the past 10 years behind us, and the fact that like Marvel finally released a Black Widow movie after the character died in canon. Like, it feels like there should have been a Black Widow movie before this. Like, that was the time. That was the time for there to be a Black Widow movie. But like,
feels
without
weird that they didn't.
And it's weird that Ant-Man, like, so in the comics, it's Ant-Man, or at least the original Ant-Man, Hank Pym, who I think is played by gay actor Michael Douglas.
It's gay actor Michael Douglas. Yeah, he's
gay actor Michael Douglas.
And that's the thing where they start doing a thing where it's like
why wasn't Ant-Man? Why wasn't that developed and came out before Age of Ultron? Because then you don't have to do this like, weird character regression with Tony Stark. You can just have Ultron have his like comic book origins as Ant-Man. So it becomes very clear with this movie this wasn't very planned out well. Like no one sat down and made like a master plan as to like how this MCU would fold out.
It's rushing from, it's like we've got a checklist of things to set up, but all those things in the checklist are just based on what do we think will sell at any given minute, and they're constantly changing the calculation. Like that's the thing. Like Bruce Campbell alluded to it, because of the where they're constantly revising, like they're constantly new data's coming in. Where are our quadrants and shit? And they're just constantly revising what they're gonna do.
It's focus group.
But it's they can't even commit to what one focus. I mean, that's
it's an unfocused
entrails
focus
reading, and that's because focus groups, everything like it's all entrails reading. There's no average people that will give you an average opinion of movies. Like it's the whole thing is, and like algorithm, like all of it, all algorithms, focus groups, all of it is fucking astrology. It's all finding patterns that aren't there in noise and convincing yourself it means something, so you have an illusion of certainty, an illusion that whatever you're doing has some basis. And now we've just replaced oracles and fucking hierophants with this thing that is the pseudoscientific. It has the appearance of being science because there's numbers and charts and graphs, but it's the same. It's still just the same shit. And it's just a terrible way to make decisions. And that's what's giving us this dying, stagnant culture, among other things.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that like that's just making me think of, I've already said it several times, but just the way this movie completely backtracks any character growth Tony Stark had in Iron Man 3, because I think the difference between like something like Iron Man, like the best of the Marvel movies, is that in some way or another they, or as much as they can kind of stand on their own as movies themselves. Like they're not trying to set up like so much shit that it's like clearly just a tie-in, or it just feels like filler until the next movie. Like Iron Man 3 has a character arc. Tony's like, I'll still be Iron Man, but I'm not gonna, I'm destroying all these drone bots that I invented, and get to him here now, and he has his own fucking, he's now supplying like a whole fucking army of drone bots.
He's got a factory making
by his fucking evil AI that he creates because he's poor traumatized Tony. It's like, bitch, I thought we were over this.
The whole movie is like, at least it kind of just like the middle part kind of sorta is kind of like, oh, the characters have anxieties and insecurities and traumas that are brought out by Scarlet Witch's powers, and then it's like Black Widow's infertile.
Yeah,
I know it's like she was like a child soldier thing, but like that's like the big capstone on. She's infertile. Bruce Banner has anger issues and turns into the Hulk,
and he can't fuck.
Captain
Remember,
America's
he can't fuck.
old.
They established that in Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, and Tony, like it's just like so perfunctory and superficial. It's the same shit from the previous movies.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah, Scarlet.
And then, the whole fucking thing with like Thor has like a vision, and it's just like
it's just showing you how the Infinity Stones are going to play out.
It's Thor got
setting
Kevin
up Phase
Feige's
3
checklist.
Yeah.
Thor got Kevin Feige's checklist so that he could make the plot happen, so that he could come in and be like, well, we're going to make Paul Bettany. We're going to make penisless Paul Bettany. Because I saw the outlines for the next few movies. Like, I hate that like so much, is when you have prophecy is just like a way to make the plot happen. It's like, well, we need the character needs a reason to do this. Well, he sees the future and he knows the thing that needs to happen so that it can, like, no, fuck you. That's so goddamn lazy. I also like I don't hate prophecy as a storytelling mechanism, but when it's used like interestingly, but mostly when it's just like, well, thing is going to happen and I just hate it. I hate the hacky use of prophecy and future visions.
Funny you mentioned that specific scene so because that was a Kevin Feige demanded scene. Like that was a Marvel Studios demanded scene. Like that, like Joss,
you can tell
there was like Joss Whedon. Not that he didn't want to do that scene, but he was like clearly it wasn't like in his head as like a part of the story he wanted to tell. Like that's a clear, Kevin Feige mandated, that's one of the things on the checklist. We gotta have a scene. And also just, did you know, like I looked at the Thor, like Chris Hemsworth has like one of the least amount of screen times. Like he has like under 15 minutes of screen time, I think.
Because they have no idea what to do with them.
Because they have no idea what to do with him, and they won't know what to do with him until they get Taika Waititi on board. Which we're starting to hear like first reactions to Love and Thunder, and they're Taika. I think Taika Waititi might be out of a job. I don't know. We haven't seen like official. Actually, wait. Let me check Letterboxd to see if, because I saw early reviews coming in. Let me just see if has it.
Sorry,
is there a Letterboxd consensus yet?
Hot, fresh news is Love and Thunder. Did Love and Thunder manage to appease even the people that are just
3.5, 20 half-star reviews, 65 5-star reviews. When did it start? Top rated is a 2-star review. Oh no. Oh, most of the top favorited popular reviews are like under 3 stars, so that's not good. So it might sounds like Taika Waititi might be going back to doing fun, quirky comedies, which like, God bless him, he should be doing.
Honestly, anybody that has anything creative or interesting to do, and I mean, I don't know, I like What We Do in the Shadows. I haven't seen any of his other movies.
What We Do in the Shadows is fucking fun as fuck.
It is great, but I haven't seen any of his other movies. I've heard terrible things about Jojo Rabbit.
I saw it in theaters. I will say there were a couple moments that really like heartstring tugs. Like I don't think it's a bad movie, like badly made, but I do think it's one of those movies that'll definitely age poorly. Like has already started to age poorly. Like it was a movie that could only have been made during a very specific time.
It's like every liberal response to Trump has been just awful as a work of art. Basically.
It's that my problem. I mean, I thought it was all right. I thought it was okay, but it didn't have a lasting impact on me. I did not. It's no What We Do in the Shadows, guys. It's just watch.
And that's the thing. Like I knew just looking at it, like, oh, this is a liberal response to Trump, and I'm not gonna. Every liberal response to Trump almost annoys the hell out of me because
they're all poems and land acknowledgements and
it's all very superficial and lame, and it's just, I think a lot of these people are well-meaning. I mean, a lot of them are cynically just trying to tap or whatever too, but a lot of it's well-meaning. But you don't need to know a lot about politics to make art. But if you're going to make political art, like explicitly, like I have a message art, then your political sensibility is going to be part of how it's evaluated. And so many of them just don't actually know enough history or politics or anything to have that much to say other than, oh, gee, we should be nice to each other and not be mean. And it's like, oh God, shut the hell up.
Okay. Well, who are other new characters in this movie? There's Korean Lady Doctor.
There's characters.
There's Korean Lady Doctor who dies. Just like Quicksilver, because that's okay. That's the. Can we just talk about like Quicksilver dies getting shot by bullets? How the fuck? And yet, like Scarlett Johansson, like hot fucking Hawkeye, they're, running around, like, they might be somewhat slightly enhanced on, like, some sort of steroids, but, like, the guy who's, like, the fastest thing on our Earth, who, like, theoretically, I'm no scientist or, don't
worry about science or physics.
Whatever, but, like,
that's not applicable
I think,
to these
like,
movies.
wouldn't those, like, bullets have just ricocheted off him because he's going so fast?
Well, I mean, okay, all this.
Or
stuff
did Aaron Taylor Johnson just sign a one contract deal, or was his experience on the movie like so negative that like when Marvel and Feige came like knocking on the door again for being like, hey, do you maybe want to make an appearance in something? He was like, no, I'm gonna go fuck my new hot older wife because she directed 50 Shades of Grey. Did you know? He's married to the. Yeah, that's where he like took her last name too. Is it?
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Damn, she
Alex. His like I think because like Alex Taylor Johnson, I think he got like first popped off with Kick-Ass, which is a movie we should watch. We should do Kick-Ass. We should.
I remember liking it when it came out, but I suspect it was in that.
It was around around the same time as like Super. Where it was that early spat of like, like things that were starting to react to Iron Man.
Superhero
and, like,
movies for sickos.
Wave, the new wave of
when we got a handful of
movies.
those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do really wonder what went down with like Aaron Taylor Johnson because
I have a theory and I have no like. Well, it's
we can all say allegedly.
Days of Future Past came out while the movie was in production. It also had Quicksilver. It did a better job with him. Had a hot young star, Evan Peters on American
was another
Horror Story.
Big crush of mine, at least when I was younger, because he was on American
Understandably, I think.
Oh, I have. If you guys can't tell by now, I have a type. There's a. They're all blondes. Shooter. They're all blondes. All creepy blondes. Except for Chris Evans. Although you can say Boston's pretty creepy. We're weird ass fucking people.
But I think they looked at that and thought, well, I mean, we've got this guy, but they've already got the guy. I don't think our version of the guy is good. It's gonna be a problem. We'll kill him, and then we'll hang our hat on Scarlet Witch as far as like new characters for the next bit here. That's my guess.
Okay.
And then it's like, but yeah, his death is really stupid because he's like infinitely fast guy. The movie already establishes that like it's like Matrix bullet time when he's running around. And then what happens? He knocks someone out of the way and gets shot up by a machine gun. He knocks Hawkeye and a child out of the way.
And here's another thing I noticed because I think it's his first line of dialogue.
Tragic sacrifice death.
Quicksilver or Pietro, which is Pietro Maximoff. Maximoff, yeah. His first line of dialogue is to Hawkeye. He's like, "Oh, I didn't see that coming," and that's the final line of dialogue he says on screen just as he's dying after he pushes Hawkeye out of the way. And it occurs to me like because they're in place of like in order to elicit some sort of emotion because they haven't established like he has no character. Like there's no character. There's nothing to be invested in. So
there's 10 seconds of him being cute with Scarlet Witch right before he dies to make you think that like him and his relationship with her are a thing you care about. But like I said, like it's infinitely fast guy, and then he shoves someone out of the way and gets shot by bullets it's like we've already established he can pick people up and move them in a fraction of a second.
Yeah, he's got like Dio Brando the Worldo powers.
Yeah, and it's like I get like these things don't follow like a strict logic, but fucking come up with a better way to kill him at least.
It's lazy, like a relatively like major Marvel figure.
I don't know. I somewhat I guess.
Like, I don't know. That just always felt weird.
He's just
to me.
Marvel's version of the Flash. He's the same.
But what I was gonna say is, like, because there is no like actual character development or character investment, for the audience to latch onto. So when Pietro dies, the only thing the script can, or like the story can rely on in order to elicit an emotion is for him to say the exact same thing he first said on screen, but in a different context.
Yeah.
Like, and that's supposed to make it sad.
But it's also like, I mean, it's also like, well, again, it's like we need someone to die to have emotional stakes, you know, like not everyone's going to come back from this one. But it's also like the guy that was just introduced in this movie and has no development. He's a red shirt.
Yeah.
Like he has superpowers, so he's one of the heroes and it's supposed to be a big deal, but he's a fucking red shirt, man. Like that's it. That's all he is in this movie.
Isn't there like wasn't there what's that character? Darwin? I think in the X-Men.
Who?
Future Pat. I think Future Pat, like people were like his power is like he can evolve to like fit any condition and he dies really easily and people are still like his death was stupid because he should have been able to evolve. Yeah. I haven't seen X-Men the Days of Future Past ones, but I understand that seemed very similar and like a character that like whose powers should really prevent them from like a ordinary human ass death to happen.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
excuse me, like Quicksilver is faster than bullets, Joss Whedon. Come on.
And again, it's not like a CinemaSins thing. It's a lazy writing thing. You could come up with something more interesting. But I mean, again, that's probably what happens when you're like, you're writing a movie by checklist and the checklist is changing every 3 weeks based on new fucking marketing data. Is you're just like, well, I've got this guy, I need to use him. Well, now I can't use him because they had him in another movie. What am I going to do with him? I guess I need blah, blah, blah. Again, like that's why these movies don't work, right? Like you take away any coherence of theme or character arc from the cinematic universe concept, the idea that any of it fits together, and all that's left is all of the many, many downsides.
Yeah. Can we take a quick pee break?
Okay, yeah. You know what? I'll see if I can too, so I don't need to do one later.
Miguel, play one of the Mary-Kate and Ashley songs while we pee. Bye.
Hello, we're twins. We're twins. Yes, sir. I am me. She is she. Except when I pretend I'm her. And when we switch, you can't tell which is which. You don't know who you're talking to. Cause we're identical twins. Dee-lee-lee-dum.
Alright, we're back.
And we're back.
Let me just take a look at my. Okay, we need to talk Ultron. Oh. We need to talk about Ultron.
That's exactly what I wanted to talk about.
Because we need to talk about the waste of the sex god James Spader. Although he hasn't really aged well. But in his prime, James Spader, he still sounds hot though. He still sounds hot. But
yeah, you can listen to his voice and just imagine James Spader from Crash or Secretary.
And just the waste of, because first of all, as I said, Ultron's visual design in this movie, he looks like a fucking sneaker. Like the back of a sneaker heel. Like it's so smooth. It's so shiny. Like I did get very excited. Not that kind of excited. But like the first like the fucked up like bot that comes out at the party with Ultron, that's cool. Like something more like janky, like geeker-esque, like that. Like
up and...
if it had continued with that instead of, you know, this fucking like shiny Tesla car looking ass, like I've looked at a couple of like comic book illustrations, like the Golden Age, more illustrations of Ultron. Like that would have been a lot cooler, I think, or just I don't know. I just feel like the visual design is
Age.
so uninspired.
Golden Age was the 40s.
Like the visual design of Ultron in this movie is so uninspired to me.
The visual design of every villain in all these movies is fucking uninspired. Like it's always just a big guy. And he's somehow like got a ton of detail, but is also like leaves no impression visually at the same time. And that's every bad guy in all these movies, DC or Marvel or like anything else. It's like
The thing
just,
that has to
like,
distinguish
so
them is
generic,
the
like
actor.
it's
really.
like modern cars. Yeah, but that's the thing.
And-
the actor is always wasted.
Yeah.
Like, every single one of these movies, they like have awesome casting for the villain, and then give them like nothing to do, and like no good scenes, no really good monologues or anything.
I mean, James Spader has stuff to do in this movie. He's the, it's the movie's called Age of Ultron, but
not interesting as a character or a performance to do.
But, and I am. No one can see this, and I am holding my finger up.
There's a finger right up in the webcam.
But like we say, like the big complaint about this movie is the forced romance between Black Widow and Hulk. No, I mean that is a problem, but no. The biggest problem with this movie is that Ultron is not hot.
He's not sexy, folks.
We need a hot. Joss Whedon, you're going to cast James fucking Spader, and according to Joss Whedon, there was no other actor who was like under consideration to play Ultron. It was always James Spader. Like, he had him in mind from the very beginning. You're gonna cast the OG Mr. Grey himself, the man who ate ass in Crash, and you're gonna cast him as the evil robot villain, and you're not gonna make that robot sexy or scary, or both, Joss Whedon? Like, yeah, no wonder your fucking shit got kicked to the can after this movie. What a way to fuck up.
What's this? Why is it?
Let the robot be sexy. Sorry.
Like, why is the art design and all these things so completely uninspired? Like,
because again, this movie is made by committee board.
Like, it's
focus group.
Yeah, but it's not like anyone's gonna go watch a movie and be like, oh, the bad guy was too interesting looking. I don't like this movie.
I mean, our boy Blaze on Letterboxd is like, how hard is
every single one of these movies is a 5-star movie.
He's got a slavery movies ranked list.
But he's got 8 million movie lists, and every single one of them, he's using the most stretched definition of what the list is, so that half of all of them are just the same Marvel movies over and over and over again, defeating the point of having all these different lists.
It was kidnap, hostage, slavery.
/ yeah.
Oh. I'll have to wait. Can I bring up his review? Can
we like do that more towards the end?
Okay. I'll hold on to it.
Something I want to talk about here. So Ultron represents, in addition to not being sexy or scary, represents one of my big frustrations because he's supposed to be like an AI, right? He's supposed to be a fucking computer, as is Jarvis / Vision. And every time fucking Hollywood writers write like an AI, it's just a person, and it just has like a person's brain. And all it wants is to just be a person. Like, Vision's body, Ultron originally built for himself.
Yeah.
Because when you're a fucking cybernetic consciousness distributed across the whole internet, what you really want to do is put all your eggs in one basket and have a fucking single body that can be destroyed, and with your conscience along with it. Yeah, that makes a lot of fucking sense.
Who was it who shuts it? No, it's Vision who shuts him out. Like, during the climax,
he disconnects him from the internet,
the Wi-Fi, which is totally how that
so
works.
it's just him, but that's the thing. It's like, and this is a thing with so many, like, just Hollywood movies in general. They take what could be a really interesting, like, premise or idea, and following it through to like any interesting conclusion is too hard or too much work or too weird, so they won't do it. And that's the thing with this, like. So, like, Ultron's kind of supposed to be, like, evil Tony Stark, like, all those worst tendencies, because, like, it's like a Tron thing where you write the program, and it's like a reflection of your personality. But, like, they don't really follow through on that. But then also, like, he's not... And, like, here's the thing. Like, a machine intelligence would be, like, a totally alien entity with an alien set of motivations and reasoning. And that could be really interesting. Like, instead of just being, like, a kind of sarcastic, pissed-off guy... Because everyone in these movies needs to be sarcastic. And, okay, that's another thing I want to get to after this is...
Oh, yeah, we got to talk about the dialogue.
What makes, like, one-liners, quips, whatever, what makes it good or bad, how those are executed? Because it's,
there are a lot of them.
And I want to talk about like what makes those why they work when they work and why they don't when they don't, and why it's so annoying now.
And even compared to like the first Avengers, where it was it was there, but it was in this
the first
movie.
Avengers has some bad ones and it has some good ones.
But this one,
it's really annoying.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about like what separates good and bad execution of that. But first, Ultron. So like he could be like, what could make him scary is that he's a machine intelligence. He's not pissed off. He's not snarky. He's not easily distracted. He's a fucking machine. But no, we can't do that. And it could be interesting. Like his motivations could be based on like a machine, like a classic, very classic Star Trek ass type plot where it's like we built a computer to do a good thing, but it followed a mechanical logic towards achieving that goal that is actually counterproductive and bad. But no, he's just like kind of that, but not really, but also just sort of like an evil social Darwinist, but also like it's totally muddled and kind of nonsensical. And then also the way like he recruits Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, and it's just like, well, you hate Tony Stark and I hate Tony Stark. And they're like, great, we're going to join up with the obviously evil robot. And then it's like Scarlet Witch can read his mind for a second because he's getting his consciousness transferred into his fucking body that he made. And then she's like, I can read him now. Oh, holy shit, the evil robot's evil. We better not work with him anymore. It's like really half-assed.
Yeah, it's on the one hand, I'm like, that. Okay, that's one aspect of this movie that I do like. That's interesting that it's on. Yeah. Okay, go on.
One more thing. So on top of all that, so like the muddled motivation, the completely disinterested, like, oh, we've got a sci-fi and we're not going to do anything with it. We're not having any fucking, God forbid, we have like ideas. Is at the end of it all, like his whole thing, like he says to them, in his kind of villain speech, like, you don't want to change the world. He kind of says the thing we say, but he kind of gestures at that criticism we and a lot of people obviously make in these movies, which is like superheroes fight only to preserve the status quo, but because of what they are as products, they can never fix any problems because they can never make themselves obsolete because they need to be around to make more products. And he kind of gestures at this, but of course, like with all fucking liberal movies, you can say, oh, there's problems with the status quo, but anyone that's ever setting out to change it is always fucking evil, and it's always going to make things worse. Always, always, always. Anyone changing the status quo is going to take a bad situation and make it worse by trying to fix it. And it's just all of that is really frustrating and annoying and boring. And then there's like the big he and Vision kind of have a conversation right at the end of the movie, and it's a very much like whether it's gods or AI or immortals or whatever, they have that whole humans / mortals are bad and doomed. It's like
from Seventh Seal.
Yeah, they're doomed, but they're also kind of beautiful in their finitude and worth protecting as long as we can. And then Vin will just finish them off. And it's another one of those things, like you've got these two AIs, these two machine intelligence, these two like alien immortal entities that could have like unique perspectives on life. You're gonna have them give them a little dialogue. It's just gonna be the most trite cliche shit because Joss Whedon is a fucking, he's a guy who thinks he's really smart but is obviously like a total like mid-brow guy.
He's always chasing after like that screwball comedy, like fast talking dialogue. Like he loves Shakespeare. Well, he cited how Tony Stark's replacement AI after Jarvis is given his own dickless body. I
don't, because we're hitting to the point where I haven't seen more of these movies.
Well, no, it's the female voiced AI Tony Stark's using. That's called Friday, as in like his girl. Oh yeah, like his girl Friday. But on that note, like there are things in this movie that on paper are very interesting, and we will also have to talk about because this was another controversy about the whitewashing of Wanda and Pedro, but like that this movie like takes, the like it's, I do find it interesting, like, and there is a lot to be mined from the idea of these two like these two twins or these siblings who have had an immense family tragedy caused by the weaponry that was developed by the man that is now Iron Man. Like things like former things that like haunt him, and like there's like insinuations like that the Avengers are at least in Sokovia, which we are very much led to, and is confirmed by like there's like
it's
a
just
Lenin
Montenegro
statue.
Basically.
No, it's an Eastern European. It's clearly supposed to be a former Soviet.
Montenegro.
Okay. Yeah, it's
that's it's a tiny like.
I was thinking. Why was
former
I thinking
part of Yugoslavia?
Monaco? I was thinking of Monaco.
Montenegro is like basically a city state. Like it's really small, but it's one of the former bits of Yugoslavia. Sokovia seems like it's like one of those.
Yeah, it would have been.
It's just a city in the surrounding countryside.
Yeah, it probably would have been next to Slovakia around there. But like that, they show like there's in the background of one shot when like Tony brings his all those drones, those Iron Man drones, out to evacuate Sokovia at the beginning of the movie while they're invading the Hydra bunker. When like they start like throwing tomatoes at him, there's some graffiti in the background of like Iron Man, like spray painted Iron Man with dollar bill signs where the heads are. Like, I mean, Banksy ass, but like clearly they are seen at least in this part of the world, in certain parts of the world, the Avengers are seen as an extension of American empire. If not, they are.
This is an Iraq. I realize like this is an Iraq war movie in a way, and this is what it is. It's so the Battle of New York that they keep referring to in the first Avengers movie is 9/11. Like 9/11, and Tony Stark is, as we said, where he's kind of just America, or he's like as is Captain America, just like different facets of it, and his whole like building Skynet to protect the Earth and it goes bad. It's like the idea is 9/11 was a national trauma and we overreacted and we let our anxieties about security lead us down a well-intentioned but ultimately bad path. Yeah. And that's not what it was.
Ultron,
right? The Iraq War was something they were planning to do before 9/11 happened.
Oh, it was always in the
all
cards.
of it. Yeah, all of it is malignant, bad-intentioned fucking imperialism. We're mass murdering people for fun and profit. It was never we got hurt and went too far.
Yeah,
at least not for anybody with any decision making power.
Or like as this movie. Because this is another thing. Because they also show like compared to probably I mean this is also clearly set up for Captain America: Civil War, but like the fact that everywhere the Avengers go, like every populated city, they're basically destroying the fucking city. Like the Hulkbuster scene in South Africa, they just destroy this entire fucking South African city. And there's certain shots that are still giving me like 9/11 vibes, like people covered in dust.
But there's no civilian casualties.
Well, not that
they're so tactical with their violence. And this is I think a thing a lot of Americans believe about when like, oh, we got to bomb Syria or Bosnia or Iraq or fucking Somalia, wherever. I think a lot of people believe that it's like, well, we have we're the good guy country, and we've got this super advanced, smart technology. So when we go and bomb a place, we basically only ever hit the bad guys. Yeah. And it's when the Russians go and bomb a place, it's barrel bombs, and there's all these.
Yeah, we think we got the stupid helicarriers from Winter Soldier, the helicarrier drones.
But that's all bullshit. That all of those bombing campaigns, excluding when they deliberately do war crimes, when they hit a hospital on purpose, just kill tons of fucking people. Yeah. As collateral damage all the time. And honestly, in like a way, I respect like the Zack Snyder thing a little bit more, where it's like, oh no, people die when superheroes store each other in the buildings. People fucking die.
I mean, we never see anyone actually die on screen.
No, that's like
just
part of the.
At least with by Zack Snyder, I mean. But no, I know your point.
They don't like lean way into it, but like. It is, but at least like they admit it, and I kind of respect that more than this idea that like you can destroy a whole city and nobody gets hurt. Maybe like you see like Hulk get like or I forget if it's who gets thrown, but like they get thrown into a truck and the entire driver's side is in this one.
Oh, okay.
The entire driver's side is caved in, and it's like there's It's just it's like in that old show, The A-Team, where they'd have all these gunfights, but no one would ever die.
Yeah.
And it's just like we're just gonna do whatever we want. We're just gonna say nobody ever dies, just kind of magically, just by luck and skill, and just opt out of having to think about any of this at all. And
not to bring up the Suicide Squad again, but like
cheap.
That's a movie that really people get their faces blown off. People get crushed by a giant starfish. There's one scene where like a guy is just like cut in half and his guts are like spilling out. Like
But the heroes cause like
sex and violence,
are the heroes causing collateral damage?
Yeah, sex and violence are just like glaringly absent or in short supply in any sort of Marvel Studios products. And that's by clearly like I think the desexualization of the MCU, like we joked like there's a sex scene in the first Iron Man movie. Granted, it's played for laughs and it's pretty it's not really risque, but it's Tony's fucking he's getting his dick wet clearly. I do love that that essay in Blood Knife. But like,
oh yeah, I know the one.
But Captain America does, and you agreed with me, have a little bit of a pulse of sexuality to it. Like there's,
what I meant though wasn't like, oh, I want to see civilians getting splattered. I mean, I kind of do, but for sicko reasons. But what I meant was it reflects the idea that the United States and the things that represent it are kind of like inherently heroic. And if they do something bad, it's just an oopsie that's just sort of like misguided but well-intentioned. And then it's like all of their violence that is nominally in service of something good almost never has meaningful collateral damage. Like Tony Stark buys a building before he slams the Hulk
hilarious. That's fucking hilarious.
But it's like, it's great that he's so rich because then he can do that.
And it also
and the Stark NGO emergency response team is sent in afterwards.
Okay,
it's like, he can buy it all. He can buy the moral conundrum out.
Yeah. So again, and I want to point out, by this point in the storyline, the overarching storyline of these movies, S.H.I.E.L.D. has completely collapsed. So presumably the Avengers are operating on their own, on like completely good faith, with no oversight, which becomes basically the plot of Captain America: Civil War. But they're fully funded by Tony Stark. Like at one point, Tony literally says I'm you guys' financier. The Avengers, Stark Tower has become Avengers Tower. It's a brand. So the way you can, so the Avengers, they're a completely billionaire tech bro, former defense offense weaponry guy, financed organization whose only real functional duty in intervening in foreign affairs and foreign jurisdictions is as an American enterprise and purely on the good faith of New York alone, of
also,
saving 9/11
money?
Alien 9/11.
Where is he getting all his money now that he doesn't sell arms?
Well, Pepper. Well,
what is it they do?
Yeah, what
now?
is Pepper? Well, I think didn't they say what they did?
What is Stark Industries? Do they make iPads or something? Are they Apple
like green
now,
energy? No, I think.
Yeah.
At least that was.
I guess another thing that's maddening is it's like
you don't make money in that.
because the status quo can't change, and because the world always has to be basically the one we live in, but with superheroes. But the superheroes never affect the world outside their internally contained plot. So it's like Tony Stark invented like fusion power and is apparently making money off of it, but we never see the consequences of it. It's just still the same shitty world we live in now, even though, like, in theory, all of this fucking advanced technology exists.
He has
but it only exists for superhero bullshit, I guess. But it's like another one of those things where it's like there's just no curiosity or imagination in any of this stuff. There's no tiny bit of like wanting to follow through any of these things that are there in the movies. But like, it's just like, it's too much effort to think about it, or it's too weird, or too much of a distraction,
but even
or creates too many problems. Like, it's just like, it's too much fucking effort, and they know the audience doesn't care, so they won't. But if you're going to have a big fucking cinematic universe and you're going to be like, oh, we've got this whole world and all these characters, then like, if nothing else, you could use that to be like, how would all of this shit affect the actual everyday world? Yeah. But no, the conceit is the everyday world is the one we live in, and the superheroes are just over there in a barely related pocket dimension. It's like, oh, whole cities get destroyed, but it's just like barely a thing to normal people. It's just like, and again, it's a general frustration with all like Hollywood genre stuff, is like, it's just the complete incuriosity of the fucking people that make it.
And another, like, a thing I also like, this is also very much a Marvel attribute, and something I've really picked up on throughout these movies is, you know, sometimes someone will say a line like the prima nocta line, for like example, like we laugh at that, but it's also kind of like, you know, the real life actual Tony Stark would absolutely be into that sort of sicko shit. Like, that wouldn't be a joke to him. Oh,
guaranteed he's like going to Thailand like 3 times a year.
He went to fucking Epstein's Island children many times. But like there'll be moments, and they're either like, you know, quick quips like that, or like, you know, Whedon-esque, or like ad-libbed dialogue where like someone will say something and it's kind of like a little bit of a mask off moment. Like Tony, like at one point Tony or someone explicitly said that Stark Industries is the largest conglomerate in the world. That, and then when you take 2 seconds to think about that, it's like, so the largest,
Tony Stark
if you're like a citizen of Sokovia in this war-torn former Eastern European country, and
it got lifted into the sky, so it's not in Eastern Europe anymore.
Okay, well, former grounded city of capital of Sokovia, but like, and you see the Avengers, and presumably everyone around the world knows Stark Industries, or at least knows most of them know the name Stark. Like, yeah, of course, if the Avengers are coming into my city and I'm like a poor, you know, person of a foreign nation, I see those people and I'm seeing an American enterprise, like an American conglomerate, military action being funded by an American conglomerate. That's what I'm seeing. Like, that's basically what it is. So there are like a lot of, but and I think you know people use these moments as like ways of saying like, oh, well, the movies are actually saying, you know, it's, you know, they're admitting that like Tony is, you know, not this really good guy. Like, they're trying to have it both ways, in terms of like getting some sort of subversive reading out of it, but just relying on these little like few and far between little mask off moments where it's like they're only really in there as like just to be, you know, jokey and self-referential and like, you know, tip in the hat, like, oh, we know, look, we're smart, we can anticipate the criticisms before they come.
Yeah, but in the most half-assed way. Like, that's again like the same thing with like, oh, well, the Avengers you're only fighting to preserve the status quo. You want to save the world, but not change it. But it's like, you have no, you can be like, I acknowledge your criticism and I hear you and you're heard. It's like fucking listening to a fucking Kamala Harris speech.
Oh my God.
Like,
oh my God. Yeah. How?
And I think, you know what it is? I think is people can't, they can't really imagine the perspective of people who aren't the main characters, because that's them as like the writers and producers and actors. And I think more broadly, a lot of Americans, and it's probably true of people in any country, but it's especially poignant in a country that goes and fucks with other countries all the time, yeah. Is that Americans can't really imagine America from an outside perspective.
No.
They go like, why do these people hate us? We're here to help. It's like, no, you're not.
Yeah, that's the
why
boomer
would they
mindset.
believe that?
Like,
I don't know if it's just a boomer thing.
I mean, well, at least like with like my parents. Although my mom and I agree, we're not celebrating. There's nothing worth celebrating this July 4th, especially. Fuck that. I'm going to go see the new restoration of Lost Highway at Brattle.
Nice.
Fuck you, America. This is our first episode after Roe v. Wade got overturned. So that sucks. Just some topical news, but at least Black Widow don't gotta worry about none of that, because she got forcibly sterilized. Hey!
And that is the worst thing that can happen to you as like a warrior woman, is like, oh, I'll never have children.
The future with me. I can't have this. Kids. Do the math, I physically can't.
Neither can I.
Forced sterilization is a thing. It's a real fucked up thing.
But it's like,
that happens,
for that
but like,
character, that's like the not at the center of their fucking personal issues. This is like, I can take life, but I can't give it. Like, oh my God.
Like it's not even that. It's so tired and cliche, and like it's so, I don't want to say sexist or misogynistic, but it's just so stereotypical.
It's that like thing where it's like, well, it's like women are symbolic of giving life, and she's a killer who takes life, I guess, is the thing. But it's like,
I mean, her characterization in this movie is so bad. Like they gave her a Disney princess ass characterization. Like her like the fucking, not to keep going back to that first, the sun's getting low scene, but like the way she's like trying to pet CGI,
God, yeah.
Mark Ruffalo, like he's like a wild horse.
Nicole is
or like a cat you're not sure is gonna bite you.
Yeah.
Like it's stupid, because it's basically relying on this trope of like women as being nurturers and caregivers. Like, oh look, the only thing that has the power to bring Bruce Banner back to himself as Hulk is a woman's touch. It's like, what fucking year is this?
Well, I think that's, again, that comes back to kind of Joss Whedon's thing of like, it's a lethal fuck mommy.
Yeah, this is the conclusion we came to. Oh, you specifically came to. And I was in bed. I was like, shot up in bed. I was like, oh my God, we figured it out. I'm like, it's,
she's badass and she kicks ass, but then when she comes home, she's just like, come here, little boy, and suck on my titties. You're such a good boy.
I mean, Mark Ruffalo got a face full of them titties in a scene. Like, I really want to know what went down, like the filming of that scene. Like, did Scarlett, like, because I know Scarlett Johansson before, like, she was like this. She said this about Iron Man 2, like how she felt like sexualized in many scenes in those movies. Like, how did she fucking feel about, like, Joss Whedon came up to her and be like, okay, so for this shot that where you're being attacked for the first time by Ultron at this party, Mark Ruffalo is gonna land in your cleavage comically.
I mean, given that given what we know about Joss Whedon,
I know, but
like not great.
I mean, yeah, but like it's just I don't know. Maybe it's because it was like a pre-Me Too thing, but it's just like I'm just trying to conceptualize like how they were able to film like nobody voiced like hey
I mean, it's pretty like
how it made it
PG
into the final cut of the
humor.
movie.
So
yeah, but I feel like it's such a like I feel like those kind of boob jokes stopped being a thing once we got out of once it turned 2010. Like I'm sure there were
a little
more,
out
but
of place.
It feels very like
it's
2000s to me.
Yeah,
but
American Pie.
Yeah, it feels very American Pie to me. But it's just like that
not,
was
like
weird.
lewd enough. Like in American Pie, the tits might be all the way out, depending on which actress they got.
We should talk about Whedon Speak.
So, well, here's the thing I want to more broadly, like we'll just call, I don't know, one-liners, quips, whatever, right?
Quips,
like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of, it's one of those things, it's like jump scares or people like, they just think it's just an innately bad thing because they've seen a lot of it being done badly recently.
Yeah.
But and obviously it isn't. I mean, people love one-liners in action movies.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
I mean, Jurassic Park is full of quotable lines,
They
aliens, like all these beloved big movies. Yeah. I mean, like, Clever Girl, like all these, like, yeah. So, like, what makes it, my thing I've been thinking about is, like, what makes it good and what makes it bad? Like, what, like, people, for lack of a better term, soy dialogue, whatever you want to call it. What makes it annoying? And I think it's when, and I'll just try and get mine out and then.
Yeah, go ahead.
We'll do yours. When it's like kind of like out of context and out of character. It's not just someone saying something funny that they might reasonably say in that situation. It's like it's when the character feels like they're a person on a podcast and they're like, no, they have an audience and they're like, I've got to get a bit in it. It's been a few minutes. I got to get a bit in.
A forced bit, which is so
forced
sad.
and out of context, and it's like you've got characters who don't seem like the kind of characters that would crack a joke, and everyone's got a riff all the time.
You're trying to, it's like someone trying to do a Cumtown riff.
Yeah,
our R.I.P. stuff. He's and
it's every character
coming to Marvelous as our third mic eventually. Well, now we can. He's our big, at least in my mind, our big like dream guest. He could be on for Thor Ragnarok and just be like, oh, hell yeah, dude, that movie rocks my dick.
I don't know. I always feel like we're like, our whole thing is like breaking these things into pieces.
Yeah,
I don't know how many other people want to come on the show and do that versus
we're doing God's work.
Like the things
we're doing a dirty job, but someone's got to do it.
We're the real, we're the real working class.
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts about like what made it really annoying to me, I think part of it was so front loaded in that opening scene, especially like people joke about like Captain America Steve is like language because Tony says shit over the intercom and that kind of becomes a bit of a running joke, which never really bothered me because that seems kind of in character for Steve to be like, hey, keep the dirty talk off
other people to like dunk on him for being a fuddy duddy. Like that's,
I think that's appropriate.
Fine.
But like, what drives me crazy, and I think this is also just more of a issue with like contemporary movies in general. Like this was a big problem I had with the Candyman remake. Is just that those sort of like quips and dialogue will be used as like in like the most inappropriate like places during like a dramatic moment to like break the tension, as if to say like, don't take it too seriously. And it's just letting a moment, like an emotional beat stick. It's like the movie is like too nervous about it landing. And so it has to
can't be too sad or can't be too sad, can't have too much tension. You've always got to deflate everything with a joke. And there's never...
Yeah, it deflates.
Like, there's never a time when the movie will just when a lot of movies now they won't commit to a tone. They won't let you linger on something melancholic or scary or anything for an especially long time. It's like just a little like, and that's like everything has to be kind of evened out. Like even just the emotional palette has to be evened out and turned into a fucking pablum, so that it's not too much of anything that might be for anybody, right? And it's really frustrating. So that's another part of it is when it's done to just deflate everything else.
Yeah, you could just hear the stock laugh track in the background.
About these movies tonally is it's like on one hand, it's like they want you to think everything's epic. They want you to care about the characters and be invested. But there's also this like, oh, we're all adults here. We all know this is silly. Hawkeye has his whole, none of this makes sense. I'm a guy with a bow and arrow. It's just like this fucking half-assed Jerry Seinfeld bit. I'm on a flying city and I'm a guy with a bow and arrow. What's the deal with that?
What's the deal with flying cities?
Well, we're all, I think it's a kind of a very Gen X thing too. It's like, well, we all know this is silly. It's like they want you to be invested and care and think it's cool and epic, but they also want you to feel like, oh yeah, I'm an adult. I know this is silly. I'm a bit. It's like so many other things. They want to be everything all the time, which means they're never quite anything. Whereas like the DC, like people I think like the Zack Snyder movies because, they're not good, but like they commit. They're like, oh no, this is awesome and awe-inspiring and epic. And we're fully committed to that. And serious, and we're fully committed to that.
I wish I could. Someone needs to do like a brain study of like people who are like die hard for Man of Steel, and oh god, we're getting close. We're getting close to Batman versus Superman. That's gonna be fun. That's gonna
that
be
and
fun.
Civil War are both movies I turned off halfway through because I was so fucking annoyed with them.
That's really gonna be fun because that means we'll finally get to be able to talk about Ezra Miller.
Oh,
as of now, every week goes by like it's like Ezra Miller's doing this kind of stuff, so like we can just start talking about it on the podcast. It's like, what did Ezra Miller do this week? And it's like, oh, kidnapped a 12-year-old child.
When he goes on trial, When he goes on trial, it's going to be like the Hanover Fist sequence from Heavy Metal, where Captain Stern is standing there and they're just like listing off his crimes. Okay. They do the same thing in Pirates of the Caribbean when they're about to hang Jack Sparrow. They just rip off that scene from Heavy Metal. They just like list all of his crimes. It's like this long, increasingly ridiculous list.
It's just a long ass list.
They did that. You've never seen Heavy Metal?
I've been trying to see it for years. I just can't. I'm waiting for it to come on streaming or probably rent it. But
oh right, you don't know how to torrent.
You just don't put me on the spot like this for a listener. Yes. Oh,
no,
I refuse to learn how to torrent. I've tried.
I need you to learn how to do this. It will open up
my feminine brain. As Dr. Jordan Peterson is correct.
If you can figure out how to get on Discord and record into Audacity, you can torrent. It's equally easy.
I can also get my roommate to do it for me, but
my roommate. Maybe you know what? Maybe that'll be because I wanted to start watching movies in the Discord. Link in the episode description. By the way, we have a Discord.
Yeah, we have a Discord, guys. Please don't say bad
I'll
things.
Stream Heavy Metal. Depending on what you mean by bad things.
Well, bad by this. Like if we wouldn't say it, and we make like 9/11 jokes and Epstein jokes pretty frequently on this podcast
just don't
program.
Be like a genuinely shitty person. But that's that. We'll save that for like when it actually comes out.
But yeah, that's gonna be fun. What's our? Oh, okay. I think we can.
But yeah, I guess that's the one of the main things with bad quippy writing is the inability to commit to a tension or tone or mood for more than 5 seconds. And the fact that it's like every character is like everyone's aware they have an audience that they want to make laugh every few minutes. There's nobody who's just as a character feeling an emotion strongly enough that
Yeah.
maybe they're not in the mood to tell a fucking joke ever.
I mean, the one moment that did get a laugh out of me, or at least that I remember distinctly, is at the end. I think it's Hulk crash into one of the carriers that Ultron's trying to escape in, and you just hear James Spader off the screen.
Oh, for God's sake!
That's just a little queenie attitude to that. I found that funny.
I mean, he's doing the best.
He's
with
doing
what
the
he
best
has.
he can, but it's like I
he
know
has such a muddled character who's like an evil robot, but also just like a pissed off, snarky guy.
Just like mad at his dad. Also, here's another thing. Why, like, because we can't ignore the fact that like Bruce helped too. So like, I'm really supposed to like. I think it's really a stretch that Bruce was just like, all right, I'm gonna go along with this. Because it feels like he should have been like, nah.
All science is interchangeable in these. It's like if you're good at science, you can just do all the science. And he says, "Oh, well, Bruce, you're better at biological stuff than me." But it's like, it's like they're just science geniuses that are good at all the science, and that's, I don't know, just fine. It's a conceit I'll accept for this kind of thing otherwise. But, because I don't like this movie, I'll also fucking nitpick shit I would let go in a movie that was fucking otherwise maybe kind of interesting or had something to say or had maybe if when an entire city's lifted into the sky, I experienced an iota of like awe or interest instead of it feeling as completely humdrum as like a scene where Tony Stark orders a sandwich.
Yeah, again, it's like you're waiting in the queue for a Disney ride. Like, this is what you'd be watching.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's the thing. Like, this stock style they have, that's kind of like it keeps the audiences interested by having lots of movement, but isn't like but doesn't emphasize like strong shot composition or anything, and the green screenish and all that stuff we've talked about before. It sucks. It takes what should be spectacular and makes it mundane.
Yeah,
like the Hulk. Like, and that's the thing. It's like the Hulk, and because we watch many movies, we know all these characters have superpowers. They can fly and they can do all this stuff. It's like it's like they don't even try to make it seem impressive. It's like, oh, the Hulk snatches someone out of there and leaps 500 feet up falling rubble, and it's just completely like that could be. And again, they're not good movies. They have a ton of their own problems, but at least like the Zack Snyder DC movies try to imbue the extraordinary with a sense of actually extraordinariness, and these movies don't. Nothing ever feels impressive. You never feel the scale at all.
Except when Chris Evans comes out of that comes out of that fucking the machine all sweet and glistening like a honey baked ham. That's inspiring to me. I'm sorry.
Okay, fair enough. But that's
okay.
A different kind of awe.
Let's, because we're clearly winding down on this movie. Let's fire off some like random ass thoughts. So I did take some funny notes. One was like, the fact that both Wanda and Pietro's accents are terrible. Like, Elizabeth Olsen's is wildly inconsistent.
And it's not even like comically bad, or well, I wouldn't call it bad because it's intentionally goofy, but like, like those, what were they? Were those fucking? Oh, I forgot what they're called. The Russian spy characters from Rocky and Bullwinkle. Oh, they're like the very like cheesy, like deliberately comedically so Russian accents. But it's like that, but dialed down, so it's not even amusingly ridiculous.
I wrote down that Black Widow's backstory is basically the movie Innocence. That's a fun movie. It's by a lady who's married to Gaspar Noé. She made a movie about these this weird ass girls' school where little girls arrive in coffins and they grow up, and then after they turn 17 they just disappear. And there's one scene, my Letterboxd review was like, oh, everyone in that audience was definitely on Little St. James. So that's that's her backstory. So I Oh yeah, and in Thor's WandaVision, he like walks into the set of Caligula.
Oh yeah. Also, the way they kept contriving to have people say vision so that they could call the character that.
I had a vision.
Oh, it's my vision. Oh, it's Tony Stark's vision. That is so annoying. I hate that shit.
Yeah. I mean, I thought the Hulk Buster was fine. That scene was fine. You know what? That's probably one of the better scenes. Is like the Hulk versus Iron Man. It's the
best action sequence.
Yeah,
in the
that's
movie.
the best action sequence. Also, just like I like that Tony Stark just built a Hulk baby jail, and of course it doesn't fucking work.
No. But I mean, like that. But it also that whole. I mean, they make it like, oh, now everyone kind of is scared of the Avengers and need to go, and then this is kind of forgotten later. They don't need it anymore. But like it mostly just felt like because the Hulk Buster armor is like a thing in the comics.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, we need Tony Stark to get in the we need Tony Stark to get in the new toy we can sell to Funko Pop collectors and fight the Hulk for a bit. Like this is another checklist thing.
Too. Like
again, why this movie doesn't hold together is it's got too many checklist things that don't fit. It's got too many fucking things to do at once. And they can't be stitched together coherently even by the world's greatest writer. Like
there's the scene where Chris Evans or Steve Rogers rips a log in half. And I still like you see I took a video of it on my reaction on Twitter. I was like, go bitch. That's still the best scene in the movie in my opinion, but I'm biased. What else did I Oh yeah, does anyone like presume does anyone like look at Wanda at all in this movie and think like, damn, she kind of looks like the Olsen twins?
Well, like, do the Olsen twins exist in this universe?
I mean, I'm sure there might be a way to deduce if the Olsen, like, if there's like, if maybe like a character in fucking like Ant-Man or something is like, oh yeah, I'm watching Full House, then we can say for sure that the Olsen
Full House exists, the Olsen twins exist.
Then yes.
And now there's this Slavic superhero that just looks weirdly like them.
Yeah. That was a thought that crossed my mind. Oh, speaking of unreality things that like, you know, kind of nitpicky, but like also when you think about it, it's like, how the fuck do Hulk's pants stay on? How is he just not like, how every time like Bruce transforms, like even like stretchy pants, like how is his dick not always out, like ripping?
That's just a conceit of the Hulk.
I know, but in reality,
I assume Tony Stark like invented some
stretch
kind
pants.
Of like magic underwear,
magic transforming pants.
He's got
but just pants, no shirt, no shoes.
Yeah.
Just pants, and even
no
then,
service.
Even then, like the bottom of the pants get ripped up too. So like the only thing that like consistently stays like covered is his junk, basically.
Yeah, which I mean,
you can't sew
it should
Hulk
be
dick.
Proportionally bigger. You should have a big Hulk dong. But speaking of dongs in their absence, as you mentioned in the intro with the Ken doll physiology. Vision is paired romantically with Scarlet Witch, but he has no genitals.
Very last minute. It's not really. It's just kind of like alluding.
Well, I mean down the road.
Oh yeah, down the road.
He's paired with her romantically, but he has no genitals. And I mean, like, I'm sure someone Summers like screaming about how you can be like demi-romantic but asexual, whatever. But I feel like 99% of people fuck and want to fuck, and there's no way to fuck
generate
him.
His own like physical. He has his own like a human form he takes on.
So do you think
that has a dick?
That bulge just kind of like opens like a
no, I think
Easter eggs. It just pops open and
I think Vision is like that's like it's like what's that character in fucking X-Men that Jennifer Lawrence and what was her name? Played the blue one.
Famke Janssen was Jean Grey. Rebecca Romaine?
Yeah, what's that character?
Yeah.
What's the Mystique?
Mystique. Yeah, how did I not?
Mystique.
Yeah, Mystique. Yeah, the
like
shapeshifter.
it's Mystique where like that's his default state, and he can shift into like so when he's like out of. So the other thing is Paul Bettany was already playing like a live action role within the MCU. He was playing like the butler that Tony based and programmed Jarvis like off of, like Jarvis, the actual butler who worked for his father. Paul Bettany was like playing that character in Agent Carter. So he was already so like
he worked that out good though, because he's just like the voice of the computer and a side part on one of the side TV shows, and he managed to squeak in there as one of the main guys for a little bit.
And Haley Atwell gets to make an appearance. She's still coming on to these Marvel movies. You know what? God bless her for getting that bag. You know, Peggy was the dark horse character that just really hit a nerve with a lot of people, and it's just nice to see her coming back every so often, even if it's a little, and she's like, oh, we can go home now, Steve. And it's just this lonely, sad WandaVision party.
So imagine going back, because you told me that's how this all goes. It's like going back to the 40s instead of like bringing her to the future. He
feels constantly like a man at a time. Although they make it seem as if it's like he can't live without a war. It's like, no, and I think he figures it out later. It's like, no, there's no place like home. So he just wants to go home. So his own.
I feel like if I was him, I'd be like, I want to bring you to the future where there's like polio vaccines and video games, and like there isn't just insane amounts of like
there's
lead
Roe v. Wade
shit in the air, and the water. Like I mean, there's
they just
a lot of things about the.
Stu, did you hear about the Supreme Court ruling of the EPA too? Bye.
Yeah.
So no, you know what? Actually, no.
Committed to slicing off every part of the government that doesn't like.
Actually, no, Stu. If I were Captain America, I would see what's going on right now and be like, "Fuck this shit."
Well, then, like, I mean, wouldn't you want to go to like maybe like 1955? You skip like 10 years or something.
I think he does. I think he goes back to maybe like the late 40s or like because there's a little bit. We're talking about a movie that's like still like seven movies away.
Yeah. Actually, you know what I do? I'd go further into the future. Like Star Trek, everything in the Star Trek timeline, everything gets really fucked up.
Yeah.
But then you get Star Trek world. Yeah. That's what I do. I'm like, no, I'm going like 400 years in the future when we have communism. You know, past the tribulation into the post-rapture 1,000-year reign of Christ kind of thing. That's what I would do if I had like a time travel opt out. It's like I'm picking up all my favorite people and we're going way ahead into a better world.
Let's talk about something else because I think we're done.
Yeah. So what else? What would you recommend people watch instead of this piece of shit?
I mean, I said this before. Like I think I said this last episode that what my recommendation would be, just based on James Spader being in this movie alone. It's Crash and Secretary. Like those two bangers, two absolute horny bangers,
horny sicko movies. Yeah,
Secretary is the most romantic movie ever made. That is a hill I will die on. But speaking of that, and I'm gonna say this just because I feel like this might be my only chance to, because like the Hulk Black Widow subplot, it appeals towards the monster fucker sensibility. So like, it does not deliver
if it
though.
Worked.
You know what does? You know what does deliver? It's Beauty and the Beast, but no, not the Disney Beauty and the Beast. No, not the live action, not live. John Cocteau one, good, but I am talking about the best version of Beauty and the Beast, in my humble opinion.
The late 80s TV show with Linda Hamilton and Ron Perlman?
No.
Okay. I can't think of another version.
I said no, and you're like, okay. No, it is the Czechoslovakian 70s version by Gerard Hertz, where the Beast is a Birdman. And it's like, it's dark and it's grimy. It's like, it's very grim as like that like as a grim fairy tale would be like you read them and they're like, oh, this is fucked up. Like there's blood, there's mud, there's like it's a beautiful. I love the Czechoslovakian like new wave, like that era of like especially. And this also fits just because it's like an Eastern European, and a good chunk of this movie presumably takes place in Eastern Europe. I really recommend anyone just get into like Czech new wave movies. There's like this movie, but Gerard Hertz also did a movie called The Cremator that is on the Criterion Collection. That's amazing. It's like a dark, super dark comedy about a Polish man. No, it's not a Czechoslovakian man. I don't know why I said that, but basically the guy who invents Zyklon B for use for the Holocaust. But it's a like Czechoslovakian new wave. Like Valerie in her Week of Wonders is incredible. There have been like Milos Forman, the guy who direct like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Man in the Moon, like a bunch of. I think Amadeus too. Like he got his start in that movement. So I would recommend definitely the Czech version of Beauty and the Beast. It's my personal favorite. You can. Yeah. It was someone uploaded it onto YouTube. I think it was taken down, but you can watch it at this website called Rare Films, and I think films with like 3 M's or 3 F's. They're amazing. It's like an archive. And you can just stream it. It's on there fully, captioned. It's beautiful. I didn't really, other than that, I don't really have I don't know. I didn't have much time to think about what to.
That's like 5 recommendations. But
I don't know like specifically what to like.
This movie isn't specifically anything.
Yeah, because it's such a mess.
So you can't we can watch Winter Soldier, and it's like, well, I mean, this movie's vaguely trying to be an X, so we can recommend like X type movies. With this, like, I kind of have no idea because it's not in anything.
Yeah, this is when you gotta sort of rely on like shared actors.
There's kind of a Skynet, so maybe watch the. I think I would recommend it. Like, I mean, honestly, actually, my best recommendation I can think of is the TV show The Boys.
I was talking to my friends about that because I think we definitely need to do that. I gotta create a fucking bingo sheet of like, bingo or take a drink every time Nicole and Stu say we gotta do an episode on that, and then start taking track, and then harangue us to do an episode. We could,
because it is like it's one of those like it kind of drives me insane when people will watch a show that's like has some sort of criticism of something or is like at all like vaguely left wing and be like, oh, this is epic communist art, and it's like I don't want to oversell it, but it's pretty good. Like it can be kind of uneven, but like it hits hard enough and often enough that I think it's well worth watching. But it's got like, not only is it like very much like the kind of, it's for people that don't like Marvel. Very, very obviously, like they realize there's enough of these people that we can make a TV show for them. So
yeah,
it's definitely that.
That's to my understanding what it is.
And it's all the superheroes. It's like like the superheroes are all fucked up celebrities and secretly narcissists or fascists or both or whatever. But it's also like just full of like really outrageous like sicko shit, and like fun, nasty ways that you can imagine people's powers going. Like it feels like a show that's like, and I know it's based on a Garth Ennis comic.
Having fun with the concept.
It is having fun with the concepts. And it's based on a Garth Ennis comic. I read Preacher and liked it. I never read The Boys because I thought the art and the comic kind of sucked, but I like the show. And it's got kind of like, not really like a plot spoiler, but just a thing that happens where like this 3rd season, It opens with a guy who's like an Ant-Man type guy. He can shrink down really small, and he goes inside another guy's dick through the.
I was thinking, is he gonna say dick hole?
He's playing with it from the inside. He's like, you see him in, like you see the dick, you see him go in, and he's inside the dick, like just stroking him from the inside, and the guy's like, "Oh, and then he sneezes, and the sneeze makes him go back to full size, and he explodes the guy in half.
Oh my god, for real? That's amazing. Totally, yeah. Oh my
and
god!
It's like you see the dick, and because it's a streaming show on Amazon, so there's like no
hell yes.
I'm sure there's a standards and practices somewhere.
We're both anti-Amazon, but like but like that and like
they're also
Suspiria 2018,
every other company.
Like Amazon has been able to put some like real sicko shit out,
and I think like I don't want to give them too much credit because they're just like. If they make this stuff, it's because they're like, well, there's an audience for it. We know that there's an audience of like left of center people that don't like Marvel movies, so we will give money to this thing that we know will appeal to that audience. But that's all entertainment that's like made for more than $50. So what are you gonna do? I still, as much as I like the show, I still absolutely hope redacted things that would get me put on lists that I'm probably already on, if anyone bothers to put me on lists, because I'm not very important as a person.
But are you about to spoil something?
Pretty good show.
Oh.
No, redacted, like, edgy political thought shit.
Oh, okay.
That's all. Mostly I'm just saying, I'm not afraid of saying it. It's just like,
are you gonna
to say
get
it sometimes.
For referring to a certain shape again multiple times? Certain shape with 5 sides on it.
Oh, right. It's like I had no idea what you're talking about for as like triangles. But no, it's like, again, I don't want to oversell it like it's like the greatest show ever made, but it's a lot of fun.
This, I think it would be,
and it's so much like
more.
it's like this, like anything kind of vaguely superhero involved, or very obviously, but it's like this and the Venture Brothers are kind of like the most, like, if you're going to watch anything kind of with superheroes and all, it's like the most fun you're going to have.
And James Gunn's Suicide Squad.
I haven't seen that yet, so
you'll enjoy. I'd be surprised if you don't like it. I'd really be surprised.
Yeah. I've aside from what I watch for this show, I've like watched so little of this stuff now that I'm not at that like I can't watch anything superhero related ever point. And then I don't know why this kind of comes to mind as just like a fun action movie. GoldenEye.
With fucking Pierce
Brosnan James Bond movie. It's a good movie.
I haven't seen
just
it.
A good action movie. Good action spy bullshit.
What about
movie.
The video game?
That I think that's actually it's kind of funny because I think for like people our age, like the video game is much more better remembered than the movie. But it's a good movie. It's a solid fucking 90s blockbuster action movie. It's got a really great sequence where like James Bond drives a T-55, I think, tank through Moscow, and he's as a car chase. He's like driving right through walls and over cars and shit. It's awesome. And it's 1995, so there's like a little bit of dodgy CGI, but mostly everything's practical.
That was the year of Showgirls.
There's a stunt where a guy, like right at the beginning of the movie, famous stunt where a guy dives off like bungee cord dives. Well, it's James Bond. It's like obviously a stunt guy. It's like, but it's a real like guy actually diving off of a really tall dam.
And now,
on, like, a bungee cord.
Before we end this, I do want to say, because this is, I do want to be on record. Because I usually don't like to do this as someone, like, I usually try to reserve judgment for movies that if I haven't seen them, except the Minions movie, fuck those guys. I hate Minions. Whoever invented them, I think y'all should be, you're gonna be the first to go when the revolution comes. The creators of the Minions, you're goodbye.
Well, they're French. Illumination Studios is based in France. So.
Oh, well, you're getting it, France, for this.
Yeah, no, they know how to do a terror.
But like, it's just kind of so sad that like something as blatantly obvious like military propaganda as like the new Top Gun movie, like Shirley seems to be like impressing and doing well because the bar for like on-screen like action has been brought so low by like
Oh,
Marvel
so,
because it's all CG, and you know they're like, oh look, it's real planes doing stunts, and everyone's like, this is the greatest movie ever made, and it's like been confirmed that like the Pentagon is literally funding like Paramount.
And that's
with
the
this
thing.
movie.
Like I feel like this way about like the last few years we've had you get like every few months that like, oh, this was a real movie. Like people sort of like us champion as like an alternative to Marvel. And that's all it is like they look like movies, like they're just
they look like
competently
movies.
executed.
Yeah.
The CGI is like better composited and not used quite so heavily. There's like an actual set or two. Like someone actually drives a car or something, and it's like I liked that the Batman, but like a big part of that is that it's just clearing a very, very, very low fucking bar.
Yeah.
It's like, I haven't seen the new Dune, but I feel like that's a big part of it. Like a lot of these movies would just be kind of middle of the road if they came out in a different era.
Dune, I don't know. Although my big complaint with, I should rewatch the new Dune, but my two big complaints with the
and I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying like they're elevated. I think maybe higher than they would be in a different cultural context where you didn't have
in a different time
these fucking
period.
Marvel movies dominating.
Dune needed more color. Needed more color to the color palette.
It seems very austere.
And no pugs. Yeah, David Lynch gave me pugs in his Dune. You know, I know it's not David Lynch's best movie. You might even call it his worst movie. I still fairly enjoy it, even though I know it's, you know, not good. It wasn't the man's. It wasn't the man. Dog. It was. He needs a. Yeah, it's just.
I need a small dog in my movie, Dino De Laurentiis. Fuck it. I can't. I did it once. Once I did an awesome David Lynch impression.
Kyle, I need you to hold this pug while you're going over Dune.
I should watch David Lynch Dune. I've seen bits of it. The production design looks amazing.
It's insane. But
and the new one, it seems like it's like better executed plot wise.
Yeah.
But it seems like it lacks that like really amazing art design.
Weird art.
Yeah, because when you read the novel, the novel doesn't describe the architecture stuff that much, but like it gives you the sense of being in a very alien place, a very alien universe.
I'm gonna have to bring this on the plane.
I feel like the art direction should reflect that. It should give you the sense of being somewhere very different from your own world. It shouldn't necessarily be realistic and that kind of more like 2001 or alien sort of industrial sci-fi.
Not just like it's
desert
people.
It's a neo-feudal society. Yeah, it should be right. Like people dunk on the costume design in the sci-fi miniseries, but all those costumes are based on like ridiculous shit people wore in like the Renaissance and stuff. Like it actually makes sense for that world, for these aristocrats, these cosmic galactic aristocrats, to dress in ridiculous ostentatious ways and live in ridiculous ostentatious architecture. And I think now there's that sensibility like, oh, it's not realistic, it's not serious, I don't know, that's no fun. Like I mean it's fine, like, you know, like 2001 is a type of movie that's kind of like hard sci-fi. You know, Alien is relying on its industrial verisimilitude to contrast with the Giger stuff, but I mean, for something like Dune, it should embrace the fantasy. It straddles fantasy and sci-fi kind of neatly, and it should embrace the fantasy aspect in terms of its visual design. I think a bit more. Same like if they ever did Book of the New Sun. Like it should have like some pretty fantastical, interesting art direction. If not that they ever would, or not that if they did, they wouldn't completely fuck it up. But
anyways,
also read Book of the New Sun if you're like a sci-fi, fantasy, speculative fiction fan. There's some good stuff.
So isn't again you can tell a movie's not good when we've we just like stop talking about it and we're talking about other things.
Yeah, we just want to talk about anything else.
Just anything else. So I think Ant-Man's next. Unless we want to be like, well, we definitely. You know what? I think we can trudge through because Ant-Man is the last one in the like phase 2, so we're done. I
keep saying that we're approaching the point where I haven't seen any more of them, but that's because I like forget. Like I forgot entirely about Age of Ultron. I forgot entirely about Ant-Man. But that's Ant-Man and Spider-Man: Homecoming. I think are the last ones I've seen before, and then it's all.
Well, I think
for it, and again, like I quit Civil War halfway through.
I say this now, and I'm gonna like hate myself in the future, but like I think if we don't watch something else after Ant-Man. Or probably if we do one, probably I think we're overdue to check in on DC because we'll have to watch fucking Batman versus. Well, no, it was this. Yeah, no, it was Batman versus Superman that came out first
because they jumped right to doing their own Avengers without.
Yeah,
and they jumped right into it, and then they did movies for Wonder Woman and.
Yeah, whoops. It's alright,
but So before we go, and like, I wanted to ask you about this beforehand, and Miguel, just like edit this out, depending on how it goes. Do you want to announce a Patreon and start one for this episode, or?
Oh, sorry, there was a fly.
I meant to. I meant to ask you about this in chat beforehand, but I forgot.
I was actually going to say because I had an idea, like in terms of like bonus content that would be easy. At least for us to record, like we could just watch like a 90-minute movie together and provide our own fucking like mystery science theater ass laugh.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Shit,
yeah, a bad like we were talking about. You know, say we should fucking watch Howard the Duck and just provide live commentary. Yeah, that's a bonus episode. There you go. Because it doesn't need a lot of forward-thinking. It's not like I gotta, set aside time to, like, take notes. So it's like a regular, like, oh my god, I looked at the runtime of this movie and I was like, Jesus Christ! It's like 2.5 hours. It's like not 2.5 hours, like 2 hours and 20 minutes, but it's you're gonna see these runtimes get bigger and bigger, and then we get to Endgame and it's like 3 hours. I don't know how I held my piss in the theater as long as I did, but I did. Like there were people who were making like I got my Depends on for Endgame.
Movies that are more than 2 hours should have intermissions. Like they should have like a 5 or like a 10 minute block.
Go pee.
Where you can take a break.
Like it doesn't need.
Yeah, well, even like the actual theatrical release should maybe have like a 30-second interstitial where it's like,
oh yeah, no,
if you wanted like a good place to pause, where you're not interrupting the momentum of the movie, here you go. Here's a nice place for you to pause, refill your popcorn or your chips or whatever, take a piss. I don't know why that's not incorporated into the experience at all. Like it just seems fine, but yeah, no, I don't know if people like not that this is like hard work, like a lot of jobs or anything, but like it's more more effort goes into this than just watching the movie.
We got to think about it. We got to. It's also endurance.
I've got
we deserve hazard
pages
pay
of notes here.
In some capacity. So I think we're like, if you think it's time for us to start cashing in, like if you think like our statistics look good enough, and I say we go for it.
So check a link in the description. We'll put that together the next couple of days in time for the episode to come out. There will be a Patreon. We do have a Discord where you can come and hang out, talk about movies, give your feedback as long as it's very flattering and positive,
and as long as you give me a compliment.
Banned. Yeah, if you're not completely sycophantic, you will be kicked out. And we've been, I do keep an eye on the numbers. They have been going up, and I can only assume that means people are going out there telling other people about the show and spreading word of mouth. And thank you so much for that. It's, I have no illusions. I mean, I wouldn't want to do this as a full-time job, but like, it's we're not wealthy people. So, being able to take the edge off our financial situations would be pretty great. But even still, it's nice to know people are paying attention.
Yeah, they still haven't announced, of course, Joe, Let's Go Brandon, still sitting on his ass over what to do about student loan stuff. But yeah, as of right now, if they start reinstating student loan payments, I'm screwed. So please, give us your money.
I need money.
I mean,
I just don't pay mine.
We haven't hammered out what our Patreon stuff
we'll figure that out. That'll
it'll be more than affordable. I promise.
But like seriously, just like everybody that's listening, that's done any kind of word of mouth, even just like retweeting a fucking a Twitter post, what have you. Thank you a lot. It means a lot. Like the people that come and say, "Hey, I like the show," or
hey, Stu is actually hot.
Okay.
Oh God, Phil!
That was so funny.
Oh, great.
That was so funny. That was so funny. And you were like, "Oh, they're talking about Nicole." What?
Yeah, when we did the stream, we're both on webcam. It's usually the other way around.
Yeah, it's usually the girl that everyone's like salivating over.
I make a lot of self-deprecating jokes, so I think people who've never seen me
people visualize you as like some like fucking Mr. Frog looking ass.
Like what was the name of the guy that ran Ain't It Cool?
Oh God! Oh no, him!
I think maybe that's the mental image of having. No! So when they see me and I look like normal, they're just like, "Holy shit!" Like it's like that's the trick. You set the bar really, really like a Marvel movie.
Yeah,
you set the bar so fucking low that when people like you're just like passably presentable as a person, they're just like, "Holy shit! Look at this guy. He looks like a young Robert Redford."
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for listening. Please tune in next time where presumably we're going to be talking about Paul Rudd Ant-Man. Yeah. Please check out our Patreon once we have it up and join
link in the description.
Discord, and say nice things about us. I am Nicole. And
I'm Discourse Stu, aka Tyrell James.
You always, I'm like, I'm Nicole. Figure it out yourself. That's my name. What branding. About it? Like,
I'm trying to synergize my branding with my like 2 short stories I've had published. I don't.
Sorry.
I hate branding too. I don't know.
All right, guys. See you later. Go watch better movies.
Watch better movies.
Watch better movies. That's our slogan, watch better movies. Dr. Jordan Peterson is correct.